Triceratops, point me to the Tricerabottoms. So that's just continuing in the tradition of trying to open with something that only makes sense if you watched last week. I was doing an impression of Trump talking about the Roadrunner, and I said, tears pouring down onto his big yellow beep. Many of you rushed to point out the flub, thinking obviously I meant to say beak. I didn't. I meant to say that tears were rolling down onto his big yellow but I knew I couldn't say that, so I beeped myself. For those of you asking, it's yellow? It is on the websites I frequent. Scollins played Count Chocula in a sketch. And he said, they're always after my delicious cereal, which is what Lucky Charms says, not Count Chocula. And that's kind of the difference in our show, which is we have a wardrobe department that like efforts to get every single detail correct, whereas our writers are more like, yeah, who's gonna notice? Do we get it, Alex? Do we have that? Throw it up if we do. We had a shot of an Airbnb of animals looking in the window, and it was a horse and a cow and a pig all peeking in a window. And people pointed out like that the pig couldn't have been that high. And they said like, what was the pig on top of an apple box? Some people said was the pig on top of another pig. The pig was actually on top of a pig who was on top of an apple box that was on top of a turtle. Here's a reverse shot. Here's something someone wrote. I'm going to read the comment as written. Correction, a trebuchet is a kind of a catapult. So if you're talking about trebuchets, you're talking about catapults. Also, correction, you can get stuck watching Seth Meyers, more or less. This is in reference to Donald Trump saying he got stuck watching me. You can get stuck watching Seth Meyers, more or less, because once I was in the ER and they were playing a Kelly Clarkson talking about Seth Meyers' day drinking thing on the television set while triaging patients. And then a fellow patient, while we were both in the ER, took a picture up my skirt. Whoa. I mean, that took a turn. You know what? I'm going to read that again, and let's just throw in a sound effect. And they were playing a Kelly Clarkson talking about Seth Meyers' day drinking thing on the television set while triaging patients, and then a fellow patient, while we were both in the ER, took a picture up my skirt. While I was trying not to vomit and the cops got involved, but hey, still a better day than it would have been if Seth hadn't been there. Thanks, buddy. We had a Family Feud joke, and a lot of people said I do not do a good Steve Harvey. I was not trying to do Steve Harvey. I was trying to do a Richard Dawson impression, which was also not good. But when you're a man of my background, as they say in impressions camp, do the Dawson. Richard Dawson, Hogan's Heroes. Kids today might not remember Hogan's Heroes. It was a show about Allied prisoners in a POW camp in Nazi Germany. But I was watching Tucker Carlson the other day, and they had a guest on who was arguing that maybe Hogan wasn't the hero. Very interesting point. You know, it was very, I'm not saying either way, but it was a new, interesting way to look at it. Ben was in a sketch, so people assumed Ben wrote the sketch. It was in You Burnt. Jermaine wrote that beat, and Ben actually said maybe Jermaine should be in it. Ben seemed like the better casting for the character, the rascal. When we're looking for a rascal, we tend to lean Ben. So I should restate my rule of Late Night with Seth Meyers. If Ben wrote it, Ben is definitely in it, but Ben can also be in things that other people wrote. So you shouldn't necessarily think if Ben's in it, he wrote it. You should just know that if he wrote it, he is in it. Correction, Holiday Inn doesn't have a free breakfast buffet. That's Holiday Inn Express. Well, you sound just like the manager at the Indianapolis Holiday Inn that I had a loud argument with. Someone said, why do fake mustaches dangle from one side? They legally have to. It's an FCC rule, so people know when the mustaches are fake. Oh, and then also, Uburnt said that there were holes in the plot of Shawshank Redemption, asking how did they attach the poster from the inside. 1 million people wrote in to say you just keep the top 2 corners of the poster attached and at most attach modest weights to the back of the bottom 2 corners to let it hang properly. It's pretty rich that the Byrne Boys decided to go after Shawshank Redemption. Let's just say, if anyone has the right to go after a piece of writing for not being airtight, it is not the Byrne Boys. I accidentally said Megan Baller instead of Melon Baller. That's a flub. Someone sent in another term for Megan Baller that was a little too blue for television, so I will not be sharing it. We had a real buck in the house. We had like a civilian buck in the audience on Tuesday. It like never happens, but a few people mentioned in like corrections, like, what, is this like Buck's family there? It was jarring for me too. It was lovely people who were having the time of their life, but it was weird. I want you to know it was weird for me too. And we got through it, and no judgment. I talked to them during the Q&A, but there was some real feedback that I'm not used to on an auditory level. We showed a Chuck Schumer joke where he said KFFF. I'm sorry, he said KFF could stand for Kentucky Fried French Fries. We said that's a bad joke, but a lot of people said we dated it November 3rd. He actually made that joke on October 3rd. And I want to apologize, because on October 3rd, that joke was funny. Prince Harry. Get your mind out of the gutter. Someone wrote, the ad man who first came up with the original Kool-Aid ad is likely dead. Oh, no. We showed Jimmy hitting me in the head with an Arby's sandwich, and then we showed how he hit me in the head with an Arby's sandwich from a sketch we cut. And a lot of people said they were expecting me to get in the head with an Arby's sandwich a third time because of rule of threes. People have been wondering if the length of corrections is based on the fact that we keep losing the Emmys. And if we're like, we're disappointed that we didn't win, and so it's getting shorter. But, Desi Lydick's Fox Explains the News is actually shorter than corrections. Carpool Karaoke, when it won, longer than corrections. So I'm actually starting to think that the Emmy voters are voting based on quality as opposed to length. Here's a comment I enjoyed. Classic stop when you're ahead. I just recently reconnected with my dad for the first time since I was 7. And the first night we hung out, as a way to connect, he asked me to put something on that I thought was funny. So I put on the last few months of corrections. I then left him to watch that garbage alone to punish him for being such a terrible dad. Look, if anybody remembers anything about this last week of shows, may it be the catapult montage. We had a montage of Donald Trump saying catapult. It was pulled together last minute. Shout out to Tony, Madeline, Emily, did incredible work. But somebody pointed something out. which is Donald Trump never says catapult the same way twice. And so we brought in a team of linguists to go through the montage, and they went through syntax, phonetics, phonology, and they said they've never seen anything like it. He does pronounce it a different way every single time. And so we had, we're going to show you the montage again with a lower third of the different ways he pronounces the same word multiple times. Let's take a look.
I want to know catapults. Which is better, the electric or the steam? Catapults. Which is better? It's steam for the catapults. The catapults. The catapults. You know the catapult that throws the plane into the air. The catapult system. The catapult system. The catapult. Catapult, it's called. So they have a catapult. Catapult. Right? The catapult system. The catapult system. Catapult. Catapult. Steam catapult. Electric catapult. The catapult people. I'm the chief catapult. I'm a catapulter. The catapult. The catapult. 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 Catapults. 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 All electric catapults. The catapult. The catapult. Catapults. Catapults. The catapult. The catapult system. You know the catapult. The catapult system. Catapult. 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 The catapult. Catapults. Catapults. Catapulted off the deck.
So, I mean, maybe remember the one we did on Monday. More than that one, but still. Daryl. Well, a couple things. Got some fun stuff in the P.O. box. This was really special. Labubu Bird Braid. And then Daryl, our dear friend, that was from Kate, Labubu Bird Brain. Thank you for that. And then Daryl came through. Daryl, you know, obviously we've come to expect greatness from Daryl. And now he's really, I mean, again, he's done basically, you know, he's made action figures of me, all the writing staff. And so now, very exciting, who he's on to. It's the crew. Here's from the Corrections series. Kenny Coyle is the gambler. Here's John O'Malley, and this is really cool. He's got his phone out to show us pictures of his kids. He's got Katie scoring a goal on YouTube. There's Lloyd. Lloyd holding a chalupa, which is, of course, how he pronounces croissant. And then Wally Two Trees Ferriston. Yeah. And obviously, I want these guys to have them. And so how do they get them? We have a new program called Seth Bucks. What is Seth Bucks? Seth Bucks is a new currency with which our staff can exchange with me for gifts like these that I have spent of my own money on. So how do you earn a Seth Buck? Great question. It rewards effort in the workplace. You know, write a great sketch, 2 Seth Bucks. Get me a coffee on your way to work, 3 Seth Bucks. Cover for me with Alexi and say you were with me all night, 4,500 Seth Bucks. It's a great program, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we have it in place. This is really fun. I hope I have it. Well, I have it here. We had somebody wrote. I don't know if they're making it up or not, but Richie and Maeve wrote in to say they were celebrating their 2nd anniversary together, and one of the things they connected on when they first met was that they liked this show and that they were jackals. So I thought it would be nice if the card at the end was a shout out to them. And I was just going to show it. I wasn't going to say anything about it. I just thought it'd be nice for them, right? And so I wrote, you know, and again, I write this very last minute. And so there's not a lot of time. So no shade here. But I wrote Ellen, and I was like, I emailed him, like, I would love the back of the card to say Richie, heart emoji, Maeve. Now, obviously, not obviously, The opposite of obviously. I wanted a heart, not the words heart emoji. But in her defense, that's exactly what I wrote. And in a way, Richie and Maeve, I think this is even more special. See me next week.